let me take you into a familiar scene at universities, a dark lecture theatre. Slide 47 is up. 45 minutes in, one student at the back already asleep, and someone at the front says, "Miss, will this be on the exam?" And the lecturer, reading from slides like it's karaoke night without the fun. Now, I have given that lecture and I've watched students disappear, not just from the classroom, but from the learning. I do not have many metro-age students, and I mostly have Gen Z students, and it is tempting to say Gen Z students are distracted. Too much TikTok, too little patience. But what if the real problem is in them? What if it's us? Everything around us has changed in so many different ways, and yet we still use the same old teaching methods we used when our phones had buttons. I'm a senior lecturer and course director at Macquarie University, and I've been lecturing for about 11 years now. I've seen how the way we teach has needed to change and adapt, just like the rest of the society, with the advancements in technology and the battle to fight for attention. When I first started lecturing, I did what most of us do. I stood in front of the room, prepared PowerPoint slides, and delivered the content. I teach databases, and I incorporated examples from the TV show The Big Bang Theory to liven up the classroom. And I thought I had nailed it. And students smiled, kind of. They were physically present, but mentally, not really. The feedback said it all. Why am I here when you're reading the slides? I can read this at home. Why do I have to travel to uni for 2 hours to sit through a lecture where slides are being read? Feedback like this was hard to read. So I sat down, not just with the feedback, but with myself, and I started reflecting. Why were my small group classes with 25-odd students getting great feedback, whereas my large lectures with 500 students were falling flat? I even wondered if I should be teaching large classes at all. And then it clicked. When I was a student, one of my favorite classes was from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And it was taught by Dr. Rajan Shankaran, and he was phenomenal. And I would look forward to the class. He would write on these transparent plastic sheets, which would then be projected, and it was like an artwork. Then I realized I was doing something very similar in my small group classes as well. So in my smaller tutorials, I was building things with students. I was writing with them, I was thinking with them, whereas in my large lectures, I was just talking at them. So in the class that week, when I walked in, I told students that the following week that we would be working on a coloring activity, and I asked them to bring color pencils and highlighters, and they did. The following week, when I walked in, instead of slides, I gave everyone a printed worksheet, and I said, let's go through this together. The topic, normalization, one of the trickiest concepts in introductory databases. We scribbled, we circled, we highlighted, and it was one of the best lectures I had had thus far. On the way out, students came up to me and said, "Miss, please don't stop doing this. This actually makes sense." This evidence-based approach, known as writing shapes thinking, has been used in schools since the late 80s. And I was able to bring this sort of pedagogy, which is the art and science of teaching methods, into something as high-tech as computing education. I felt more connected with my students, and I wanted to do better for them. So I turned to research, neuroscience, and I came across this model called AGES, developed by Professor Davachi. And this model helps students remember contents better. So I started designing lessons around this framework. AGES stands for attention, generation, emotion, and spacing. For attention, I brought in props to help students visualize concepts. I would walk into the lecture with a big bag of props such as beach balls, puzzle cards, and magnets, and I felt more like a magician than a lecturer walking in. For generation, I taught databases using examples through Netflix and Game of Thrones, instead of using examples from the textbook, such as storing songs on CDs and DVDs. Suddenly, international students were leaning in. The examples started making sense to them. Emotions is the game changer. The fastest way to lose a student is to make them feel stupid for asking a question. You need to create a happy, fun, safe environment for students. Inspired by another amazing friend/colleague of mine, Dr. Matthew Roberts, I would walk into a lecture room and provide students with an online poll. Students would scan the QR code, and I would ask, how many of you have no idea what this topic is about? About 80% of the class would be like, show me everything. And because it is an online poll, you would see the charts moving live in action. And you could physically see relief on students' faces because they weren't alone. And this also helps with metacognition because students can self-assess how much they know about a content. And there is spacing, the art of not cramming everything in, just gentle, spaced repetition. And I would revisit a concept over and over within the same class and once again the following week. Positive feedback started flowing in. Love your classes. It takes dedication to write for 2 hours. I remember the most out of your lessons, said one student. Tools like cups and sticky notes made me fall in love with programming, said another. I slowly started gaining confidence, and just when I thought I had it all figured out, COVID happened. Everything I thought I knew about teaching collapsed. No lecture rooms, no worksheets, no eye contact, just empty black boxes on Zoom and the echo of, hello, are you there? Can you hear me? So I had to adapt. I created over 100 short videos to help students learn programming concepts. And this shot the engagement through the roof. In one of my third-year units, where students' attendance typically hovers about 30 to 40%, some of these videos were gaining about 75, even 77% engagement. That's when I learned something new. Digital learning is not a backup plan. Some of these videos are still being used today, even after we have gone back to campus. So this process could be transformational. When we use active learning strategies, such as writing or creating short videos that are engaging, or using pedagogies within the AGES framework, we are helping students focus. These are known as active learning strategies. And using these active learning strategies not only help improve the engagement rate, but they also help with success rates and retention. So in one of my first-year units, when active learning methods were used, the success rates improved by 13%. It went from about 63% to 76% in a 2,000 student cohort through 2023. And it also helps with retention rates. But again, not one size fits all. With my first years, I focused more on building confidence. They're new, they're nervous, and they are still finding their people. So with them, face-to-face lectures are important. Whereas when it comes to my third years, they don't need me. They're super focused on employability. So with them, I'm more than happy to create short videos and to help them choose between face-to-face lectures or watching online videos. I like to refer back to my university strategy every time I feel a bit lost about teaching innovation. I work at Macquarie University in Sydney, and one of my and the educational strategy at Macquarie University is known as the Macquarie Advantage, which aims to provide transformational learning experiences for students. I tend to refer back to this strategy to help me change the direction of how I teach. Because here's the truth, when students are not learning, the question isn't what's wrong with them. It should be, what can we do differently? Gen Z did not break the lecture, but they are showing us that it's time to move away from how we deliver it. Students are not disengaged because they are distracted or lazy. Students are disengaged because we're teaching like it's 1989 and they are living in 2025. I am not saying PowerPoint slides are bad, because one of my colleagues, Associate Professor Lisa Beath, she uses PowerPoint slides but integrates cat memes within her lectures, and students absolutely love it. My Gen Z students are creative, capable, and curious only if we meet them where they are, only if we create spaces for them that are active, inclusive, and real. I just wanted students to feel like the room was built for them, that they belonged there, and that they could succeed. This talk is not a call for educators to throw in more tech or add in a quiz here and there. It's a call for educators to reflect on why we teach, how we teach, and who we're teaching for. I'm not standing here as a disruptor or a futurist. I am someone who's got tired of bored faces and empty seats, so I changed how I teach, and it works. And students no longer show up to learn, they thrive.